I remember opening the medicine cabinet in our bathroom a few years ago and looking at the neat row of orange plastic bottles lined up on the shelf. There was a time when I took a strange kind of pride in those bottles. I thought they were proof that I was being a responsible man. I took my statin for cholesterol, my pill for heartburn, my daily pain reliever for the ache in my knees, and my calcium supplement because that is just what you do when you get older. I was doing exactly what the doctors told me to do during those rushed 7-minute appointments. I thought I was maintaining the machine. I had no idea that the very things I was doing to protect my engine were quietly tearing it apart from the inside. Today, I am going to tell you exactly how I discovered that the standard medical maintenance routine was actually failing my heart. The hidden cost behind the 5 most common pills men of my generation swallow without a second thought. And the single, simple question you need to start asking your doctor to get your strength back. For a long time, I walked around with a bone-deep exhaustion that did not lift no matter how many hours I slept. My muscles cramped in the middle of the night. My thoughts felt sluggish and heavy. When I mentioned it at the clinic, the doctor just smiled that polite practice smile and told me that I was in my late 60s at the time, and this was just the natural cost of aging. But pressure rarely goes up alone. It rises with the habits we ignore. And the fatigue does not just happen without a cause. It took a long conversation with my daughter Danielle, who works in nutrition, to make me realize that my body was not just winding down. It was reacting to a chemical traffic jam that I was creating every single morning. The medications prescribed to keep me stable were quietly stealing my vitality. The first blind spot we uncovered was the statin I was taking for my cholesterol. If you worked the years I did in the public transit system, you know that a heavy diesel engine needs constant lubrication, or the friction will grind the parts to dust. Statins are prescribed to clear the lines, and they do that job well. I am not disputing that. But what they do not tell you on that little warning label is that statins also block the production of something called coenzyme Q10. That is the actual fuel your heart cells run on. I was running my engine without oil. My cholesterol was down, but my heart was being starved of the energy it needed to beat with strength. That was where the heavy, unshakable fatigue was coming from. My heart was literally running below its capacity. Once I learned to add that specific CoQ10 back into my routine to replace what the medication was taking away, it was like someone finally took the parking brake off my body. Then there was the pain relief. After decades of walking on concrete depot floors and climbing in and out of heavy vehicles, my knees and lower back carried a permanent ache. So, like millions of other men trying to stay active, I kept a big bottle of ibuprofen in the house. I took it almost every day just to take the edge off. I thought I was just lowering inflammation. But those cheap, over-the-counter pills do a lot more than dull the pain. They block the natural enzymes that keep your blood vessels flexible and prevent dangerous clotting. I was taking a pill to make my knees feel better, and in the process, I was stiffening my arterial walls and quietly driving my blood pressure up. I was trading joint comfort for a slow-building cardiovascular crisis. I had to learn to switch to a topical gel that handled the localized pain without flooding my entire system and putting my heart under siege. The numbers matter, but the patterns behind them matter more. The third habit that caught up with me was tied to the way we eat down here in the South. I developed chronic heartburn in my 50s, so the doctor put me on a daily proton pump inhibitor. A little pill every morning, and the acid was gone. It felt like a perfect fix. But stomach acid is not your enemy. It is the gatekeeper that breaks down the nutrients your heart depends on. By shutting down that acid for years, I was completely blocking my body's ability to absorb vitamin B12 and magnesium. Marcus, my son, was the one who noticed that I was struggling to find my words during conversations, and I was dealing with a strange tingling in my hands. That was the B12 deficiency. Furthermore, magnesium is what keeps the electrical signals in your heart steady. Without it, you get those terrible muscle cramps and irregular heartbeats. And when B12 drops, an amino acid called homocysteine builds up in your blood, acting like sandpaper on the inside of your arteries. A heartburn pill was quietly setting the stage for major arterial damage, and no one was connecting the dots because the heart doctor does not check the stomach doctor's work. I did not take warfarin myself, but I watched a close friend from the transit authority go through it after he developed an irregular heartbeat. It is a standard blood thinner, and it works by blocking vitamin K to stop dangerous clots from forming. But there is a massive catch that rarely gets explained in those brief clinic visits. Your body uses a specific type of vitamin K, called K2, as a traffic cop. Its entire job is to keep calcium out of your blood vessels and push it into your bones where it belongs. When the blood thinner blocks that process, the calcium drifts. It settles directly into the walls of your arteries. I watch my friend's arteries become rigid and calcified, like old plumbing pipes slowly choking on mineral deposits. He was preventing a clot, but his daily medication was turning his cardiovascular system to stone. And that brings me to the fifth pill, the one that makes me shake my head every time I think about how blindly we follow standard advice. For years, Gloria and I both took a high-dose calcium supplement. We were told it was the responsible thing to do to protect our bones as we aged. But here's the hard truth about taking a massive surge of calcium without the right companion vitamins like K2 and D3. Your body does not know what to do with that sudden flood of minerals. So instead of fortifying your skeleton, it dumps that calcium straight into your cardiovascular system. We thought we were building strong bones, but we were actually accelerating the hardening of our arteries. We were paying money to swallow a daily dose of arterial plaque. I am not telling you to walk into your bathroom and throw all your prescription bottles in the trash. Some of those medications are necessary to keep the bus on the road, but you cannot let the system run on autopilot. The majority of people wait for a scare before they change. You do not have to do that. Control begins with what you stop normalizing. Before my last doctor's appointment, I took a piece of paper and wrote down every single pill I was taking, both prescriptions and over-the-counter bottles. And at the very top of that page, I wrote 3 words in bold letters. What am I losing? Every medication has a hidden cost. Every intervention steals something from somewhere else in your body. I walked into that office and I asked the hard questions. I asked how we were going to replace the magnesium my heartburn pill was stealing. I asked how we were going to protect my vessels from the pain relievers. I demanded the complete picture. I still take the medications that keep me stable, but I no longer take them blindly. I am replacing the fuel they burn. I am managing the friction they cause. A stable life builds a stable body, and that requires constant, honest attention. I am sitting here today, breathing easy, feeling the strength in my legs, and paying attention to the quiet signals my body sends. We only get one engine for this ride. I plan on being the one who decides how it gets maintained.